Correct, CEO of Limagrain Field Seeds. Bruno, thanks for taking some time to chat here in Saskatoon. Maybe just first of all, for farmers in Canada, who is Limagrain?
So Limagrain is a French farmers co-op. Limagrain as a seed organization started 50 years ago. Actually, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And Limagrain started its business as a seed grower in 1965 when they decided to become involved with corn. Corn was still a marginal crop in France in 65, and they got lucky to find incredible hybrids called LG11, and this hybrid single-handedly pushed north the limit of corn cultivation in Europe by 500 kilometers. So it was an incredible jackpot, made the cooperative rich, but instead of spending the money, they decided to reinvest it and started building a seed group, diversifying in vegetables, other field seeds, and including wheat. So that's the history. Today, 2,000 French farmers, all of them from a very small, geographically reasonably small location in central France, and they are actually our boss.
So what about the history then in Canada and as it relates to Canterra?
So wheat has become over time an increasingly important crop for Limagrain. Every farmer in France grows wheat, and so our board members have always been very demanding, I should say, that we keep growing our wheat germplasm base, release new varieties, develop new technologies in wheat. We've built a strong presence in Europe, Western Europe. We've built a significant presence in other parts of the world. And I would like to mention Australia. We are associated with a company called AGT, which is a leader in the wheat business in Australia. Recently, 5 years ago, we've started a project in the US called Limagrain Seeds out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And we've been always watching from the border inside the Canadian market saying, you know, when is it we can come to Canada? That's basically when we were approached by Canterra Seeds. We had the opportunity to talk to them, exchange about the situation in Canada. They convinced us that Canada would be a fantastic market for an organization like Limagrain. Unfortunately, from our point of view, the conditions were not met, especially in terms of the Canadian seed law. And so we agreed with Canterra that should the seed law in Canada evolve, we would resume talks with them. And that's exactly what happened when we knew that Bill C-18 would be passed.
And that's where UPOG 91 and the implementation of that here.
That's absolutely.
So,
again, the wheat as a global crop, from the breeding point of view, is a little bit of a poor man's job compared to corn, compared to sugar beet, compared to canola, compared to vegetables. You can make more money, that it sounds hard to imagine, but you can make more money breeding for a few select markets in tomatoes than with the entire global wheat industry. So really it was important that Canada, with its rich history in wheat breeding, enact that law that will really allow for private investment in wheat. So thanks God this has happened. We now consider that private investment can develop in the wheat market in Canada. I'm sure Limagrain did the right thing, but I'm sure our competitors are also going, it's going to be good for the wheat growers in Canada, I think. More funding of research obviously will accelerate the pace of genetic progress for wheat.
So does Limagrain have germplasm that would suit in Western Canada, or what do you see in terms of what farmers will actually receive out of this? What do you see Limagrain bringing?
Wheat has a very complex genome. as you know, there are actually 3 different sets, full genomes inside wheat, which makes wheat breeding very challenging and actually very rewarding because the genetic diversity in the crop is so phenomenal. And so, because the genome is so complex, you have a lot of interaction between the genome and the environment. It makes it extremely difficult to take a wheat variety from one part of the world, bring it to Canada and say, done. But some of the genes or the set of genes that have made an Australian or an Argentine or a Baltic area variety successful, these genes or set of genes can be of incredible value for designing the wheat varieties that are going to be successful in the Canadian prairie 10 years from now. And so really accessing all these germplasm resources, having the ability to genotype and phenotype wide diversity of genomes is going to really speed up, I would almost say, the pool of genetic resources that a breeding program based in Canada can use. And so I think that's what we are going to offer to this joint venture that we are establishing with Canterra. And we should make no mistake, there are incredible resources here in Canada, in Western Canada for wheat. But now the pace of improving, the pace of genetic gain has to accelerate versus what we have been able to do before. And we're convinced that the alliance between Canterra Seeds and Limagrain will help accelerate this pace.
How about from a Western Canadian or Canadian farmer's perspective? They see this company from overseas coming into the Canadian market, working together with this grassroots type of seed company that kind of Canterra has been up until now. What would your message be in terms of how Limagrain will change what Canterra has been?
I would say to the Canadian growers that this new development could worry them. Limagrain has been working in some regions. I mentioned Australia. I could mention other parts of the world with organizations for more than 20 years. Limagrain being in a minority position within this organization and living extremely happy in these conditions. I believe these guys are happy. I mean, you can go and talk to our AGT friends. It's clear that Limagrain knows how to be a player in the team, but not running the team. I'll be honest, there is no need for us to do that. I mean, we are not pretending to teach anything to Canterra on how to run their business. But from the breeding point of view, we think that we can create a unique combination that will make this joint venture, Limagrain Cereal Research Canada, I would say, a factor for acceleration of genetic progress. Other peoples are going to come, and they're also going to bring their own set of, acceleration. This is going to benefit to the Canadian wheat grower first and foremost.
All right. And finally, then, there was a comment made about wheats becoming a modern crop.
Yes.
Can you expand on what that means?
We are convinced that wheat is a key crop for mankind. It's close to what billions of people eat every day. It's also close to the culture of billions of people. So I mean, it has a very high, I would say, cultural and nutritional value. And I don't dissociate the two. It's really a concern to us when we see that in many regions, including Canada, I mean, the acreage dedicated to wheat is not growing, but it's shrinking. And it's not growing because there is less need for food or for grain. It's just because when the growers have to arbitrate more and more, and I can give you the figures. in Argentina, in Brazil, in the US, in Western Europe, and in other parts of the world, I mean, wheat is losing. We consider it as a major issue going down the road. We don't see, and as a seed company, we are concerned that maybe we are not doing our share of the job. And I think everybody who's breeding for wheat anywhere in the world should be concerned about that. So making wheat a modern crop has two sides. We can breed wheat in a much more modern way than what we are doing today. I've been talking about the network, I've been talking about the new tools and so on. Today many breeders say, I could use this in the, DNA toolbox. I mean, call it whatever, genome-wide selection, high throughput genotyping and so on. I mean, are they going to use these tools? These tools cost. And we are convinced today many wheat breeders make consciously the decision not to use them just because the resources are not there to fund. We think it's a shame. I'm not going to say it's a crime, but I think it's a shame. So I think what the step we're taking today will help bring Canada online of that global effort, help funding more tools to make wheat breeding more modern. So that's seen from a seed company point of view. But if I was a grower in any region we've been talking over the last few minutes, I would ask myself, what would it take for me to increase my wheat acreage versus my canola acreage, my corn acreage, my soybean acreage, my sugar beet acreage, and the likes. And the day wheat is winning, it means we will have made wheat a modern crop. Easier to grow, some traits combination. It can be on a number of things, maturity, quality, ability to weed the crops, whatever. I mean, I'm sure the growers are not short of ideas of what would make wheat a better crop for them. Easier to handle, cheaper to produce, better yield, better quality, more stability in the yield and so on. So that's what I would call a modern crop. The tools exist. They are not going to, the results are not going to come like that. But some of the answer is in changing the way we breed wheat, and that's what we are trying to do now.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for your time, Bruno.
Thank you. You're very welcome.